Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Viewpoint. In today's edition of the program, we are going to modify the program a bit to talk about an academic activity that is ongoing in Cameroon, perhaps not yet known to many, but it has been there for some years and now. We are talking about the National Spelling Bee competition that has, taken a new dimension this year. That is why in today's edition of the program, we have the team that talks about the spelling bee, the team that organizes it. They are here with us with the 2021 champion, who would talk to us about activities that led to that, to him becoming the champion. In the studio, we have the spelling bee project manager. He is here in a different capacity because you would, of course, identify him. We are talking of Mr. Epie Noj Avi. Good evening, sir. Thank you for being there.
Good evening, Mr. Venantius. It's always a pleasure for me to be with you all the time, week in, week out.
Of course, and today you are on a different, with a different...
Of course, today I'm not an entrepreneur. Today
of course, that's why.
As the project manager for the Spelling Bee.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much.
He is being accompanied by the National Spelling Bee promoter, Mr. Caleb Quaina. Good evening, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Good evening, Venantius. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure to having you on our set.
Right.
Perhaps for the first time.
Yeah, sort of.
And we hope that we will have you subsequently in subsequent edition.
Yes.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
They are accompanied by the champion, like I said at the beginning of the program. We have Mr. Kana Lekefak. He is the 2021 champion. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you for accepting to talk to us in Viewpoint.
Plaisir partagé.
This is a real Cameroonian. Thank you so much. We would begin with trying to look at the Inter-Regional Spelling Bee finals. And we'll begin with the project manager because he is the one who has the project in his hands. He manages the project to find out from him how was the competition carried out. We are talking about Inter-Regional Spelling Bee, which means it's something different from the usual, Mr. Epie.
Yes, like you said, it's the inter-regional, meaning it's different from the usual. We had the competition in two phases, if you can put it that way. We started with the regionals in Douala, then we went to the regionals in Yaoundé. Yes, so the schools registered. It's true, we had a slowdown because of the pandemic, but then sometimes in April, we were able to organize Douala. We had the regionals in Douala. That was on the 23rd of April. Then we went to Yaoundé the next weekend, and then we had the regionals. So we had a number of schools that were participating. Here in Douala, for example, we had 6 schools, and then in Yaoundé we had 8 schools.
Okay.
So each school was being represented by 3 spellers. So it means in Douala we had 2 spellers. In Yaoundé we had 3 spellers, because actually in Yaoundé it was the first time. It was the first time that they were participating. So we had these schools come together in Yaoundé, in Douala for the first. These spellers came together. They spelled during the regionals, and then we had the 5 best. Yes. So we actually had 18 spellers. 18 spellers come together to spell, 3 per school times 6 schools. It gives you 18. And then in Yaoundé we had 24. So these 24 spellers came together, they spelled, and then they competed, and then we came out with the best 5 from each region. And then they met last weekend. That was on Saturday the 15th.
Yes. About, yes.
Yeah, the 15th. And then the competition took place, and then we have the national champion today.
Okay, we'll take the promoter, the National Spelling Bee promoter. Mr. Caleb, we are asking about this Spelling Bee competition. What is this all about? Because our viewers would be asking what Spelling Bee is. What is it?
Well, the Spelling Bee is a pedagogic activity, first of all. The aim of the bee is to help participants to hone their public speaking skills, to hone their team building skills, to learn interpersonal relationship skills, and then spelling words is just the top. So while they do all these things, they study words, they study the origin, they study how to use those words in a sentence, in their essays, and in their daily conversation. Then they meet to spell the same words in a contest. So basically, that's what the Spelling Bee is about. Yeah.
Okay, when the project manager was speaking, he indicated something like this is actually I introduced it as saying it was a new phase of the project of spelling bee, which means before then, at what edition are we? For how long has it existed? Can you tell us a bit how the evolution has been to come to where we are now?
Well, the spelling bee started as a U.S. Embassy outreach program.
Mm-hmm.
It was financed by the U.S. Embassy, but a few years later, they just told us that they would not be carrying out the project anymore, and so it was ended. But now, being an educator that I am and a language teacher, and seeing how much impact the spelling bee had on the participants who took part in it, we took it upon ourselves to carry on the project. And so we took it over from the embassy, and it's been going on now. We're at the 7th edition.
Okay.
Now, it used to take place...
The 7th edition of when you took over, or the 7th edition that has existed?
The entire 7th edition.
Okay.
If we're looking at when we took over from the embassy, it's 5 editions that we've had.
Okay.
And it used to be for just secondary schools, so from 2 and 3 spellers. But when we saw the impact that the spelling bee had on those who took part in it, we decided to bring it down to primary. The idea is if we can train kids in class 5 and 6 to be good public speakers and to work in a team, when they get to secondary school and then they take part in this activity again, definitely when they go to college or university or some other training, they will be well equipped to be good public speakers and people who work in a team. So for the past years now, we have both primary and secondary spelling bee. Now, it has always taken place in Douala. It has always been a regional contest. So after spellers participate here in Douala, that's the end of it. But the whole idea of the spelling bee is to make sure that kids in all the 10 regions of the country participate in it. And so this year we tried to go a little further by including the central region, Yaoundé, and it was a little challenging for us, but we were able to have both primary and secondary spelling bee in Yaoundé. Now, the top 5 spellers from the primary in Yaoundé and the top 5 spellers from the secondary in Yaoundé came to Douala last Friday. They were lodged in a partner hotel, and they were able to compete with the top 5 spellers of the secondary that took place last weekend, 15th of May 2021.
Okay, well, let's get the project spelling bee project manager actually. We're talking about schools participating in this competition. What does it take for a school to participate? Because teachers, proprietors, students who are watching at us are asking the question, how do we participate, or how do I have my school enrolled into this competition? What does it take? Or which school do you go for? Do you have kind of selection? How do you go about selecting who should participate?
You know, the promoter used the word at the beginning, it's a pedagogic contest. And so it involves schools, and we don't I will not say that we choose specific schools, but we encourage schools that wish to participate to enroll.
It's open to all schools.
Yes, it's open to all schools, because it first of all starts at the level of the willingness, because some schools will tell you we don't have the time, we don't have the possibility of including all of this into our school program, because these students have to go through trainings, they have to study.
Is this extracurricular activity, right?
Yes, exactly. It's an extracurricular activity. They have to study, and some schools will not want to put their students through that extra activity. So schools that want to participate enroll online. We visit these schools at the beginning of the season, which is usually in October. We visit a good number of schools. We have an objective. We have a number of schools that we need. Basically, we always need 20 schools. So we go for the first 20 schools to register. So when we visit the schools that want to participate, in the secondary, schools pay in a registration fee of 30,000 francs. And in the primary, they pay a registration fee of 15,000 francs. They are normally represented by 2 spellers. This edition was special, so we decided to make it 3, because it was the first interregional one, Secondly, we were in the middle of COVID, so we did not want to involve more schools. So we involved. That's why you realize at the beginning I said we had just 6 schools in Douala and 8 in Yaoundé, but generally it's 20. So some schools, we shifted some schools out, and then we
Okay,
decided-
because of barrier measures, reduce the number of years.
Exactly, and then we just focus on them having 3 spellers.
Okay.
But generally, it's 20 schools, 2 spellers per school. Secondary schools register at 30,000 francs. Primary school register at 20,000 francs. Registration is done online on our website, www.cameroonspellingbee.com. Yes, and it's also done manually when our agents visit the schools.
Okay, let us take the promoter again. Mr. Kwena, you were talking about when you people took over from the American embassy. Who are those who are managing? Is it a kind of an NGO? Is it kind of individuals? Is it the government of Cameroon that took over from the American embassy? Who is managing Spelling Bee?
It's not the government. It's myself and a bunch of friends. We came up with that idea because when the embassy decided to stop the project, they sent us an official letter and they told us take off our logo, take off everything. Previously, it was called the U.S. Embassy Spelling Bee.
Okay.
But when they stopped financing it, they told us, okay, we don't have anything to do with it anymore, so take off our logo and every other thing. So we had to create a new logo, create a new perspective, from a teacher's perspective, we had to look at where do we take this? What are the problems we face in the classroom? How can we model the Spelling Bee program and the curriculum so much so that it solves the problem of public speaking, and team building and interpersonal skills.
Okay.
So currently it's managed by a team of teachers and pedagogues that we're working with, and in the near future